You have learned the basics of the gradient, setting the color and the opacity, and changing the angle. Now we'll take a closer look on the gradient slider. The houses underneath, the stops, are the colors that are used in the gradients. By default, you have two of them. On the diamond on the top of the slider, we can balance the gradients. So changing the place of the mid-tone, I can drag the stop to move it. Now there's a fully gray area before the gradient starts. If needed, I can add more stops to the gradients. You can do this by dragging a color from the swatches panel. Now the gradient is gray to red and red to black. You can move the stops and each of the balances from the slider. I can also change the opacity of each one. I set the opacity of the gray and black to 0, so the form fades to both ends. You can remove extra stops by selecting them and clicking on the trash can, or then dragging them few millimeters downwards. I want to set this gradient back to the default white to black. You can do it from the selection on the top left. Naturally, gradients aren't perfectly linear. The color changes to several directions. I can do a gradient that has multiple directions in the following way. I would like this color to lighten also towards the top. I can pile on forms that have gradients to different directions. I select the form and copy it, Ctrl C, Ctrl F. I have the copy on top of the original. And I set both of the gradient stops to be light color. Then I'll set the opacity of the other stop down to 0%. Then I'll change the angle of these gradients. Now I have two gradients on top of each other. Horizontally, a gray to black gradient, and diagonally, a light gray to transparent light gray gradients. This is how the gradients fade to each other. These types of gradients make it possible to create natural-looking color shifts.